Hi, welcome back to the Mindful Minute. My name is Ashley Molina and I'm a holistic health coach. Today I want to talk to you about broccoli. If you've had broccoli at a restaurant where it was boiled and came out watery and soggy with no seasoning, I can understand why you might have an aversion to broccoli. But the key here is how you cook broccoli and how you season it. So today I want to show you how to cook broccoli two different ways. I'm gonna show you how to steam it and how to roast it. And both of these are really easy. But first, let's talk about the benefits of broccoli. So broccoli is super nutrient dense. It's part of the cruciferous vegetable family. So cruciferous vegetables are things like cauliflower, kale, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, and all cruciferous vegetables are very high in nutrient content, and broccoli is no exception. It has so many vitamins and minerals that are essential to the body in very high doses. It's also full of fiber, which is absolutely amazing for you if you're someone who suffers from constipation or stomach issues. In fact, most Americans today are walking around with constipation and bloating. I used to be one of those people, and it feels so much better to live a life with regular bowel movements and without stomach pain. So incorporating a lot of fiber-rich vegetables is really important, and broccoli is one of those. Fiber is also really important for regulating blood sugar. So if you're someone that deals with blood sugar issues like diabetes, it can be really beneficial to incorporate a lot of these fiber-rich vegetables because it helps to maintain blood sugar balance. Broccoli is also amazing for heart health. It's been shown to improve vision, muscle, and skin tone, and it helps to reduce the aging process. Multiple studies have shown that cruciferous vegetables like broccoli may have anti-cancer effects. And part of this is because they have high antioxidant properties. All vegetables have antioxidant properties, but cruciferous vegetables, especially broccoli, has a very high antioxidant concentration. Antioxidants are really important for our body because a lot of times we have free radicals in the body which are damaging to our cells. So they cause our cells to degenerate, and this is part of the aging process, and it is partly normal. But free radicals also cause disease and problems like cancer. And so consuming a lot of antioxidants, which are things that are going to have like a lot of color to them, really help to prevent that cellular damage and get rid of those free radicals. So you can see why it's really important to concentrate on very antioxidant rich diet. Broccoli may also have protective effects on brain tissue, which is really good news for mental and cognitive decline. Eating more cruciferous vegetables in general may really help us in supporting our mental health. Broccoli is all around amazing. It's truly one of those superfoods that you hear about that you want to incorporate into your life as much as possible. And thankfully, it's really easy to incorporate. I usually steam it or roast it like this, and I keep it in the fridge all week to eat, or I'll just have it cut up and ready to go so that I can make it. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to cut the broccoli. We're gonna cut it up and then we're gonna go ahead and steam first. So for steaming, there are a lot of different ways you can steam. So there are steamer baskets, which are really, really cool and very beneficial, but I have never had a steamer basket, so I just kind of put this contraption together, and it's really easy and it works super well for me. So if you're interested in getting a steamer basket, it's a similar way of cooking it through steaming, obviously, but you have the basket, but this is the way that I personally do it. So I just have a pot, and then this is like if I'm doing 1 serving or 2 servings. If you have a large family or a lot of people, you're gonna use a bigger pot and a bigger colander. So this is a fine mesh colander, which means there aren't big holes, there's just like these really small holes in it, so it's very fine mesh. And then this is just like a regular small size pot. And so I start by putting a couple inches of water in the bottom of the pot. You don't want a ton of water because you don't need a ton of water. You only need enough water to boil. But if you have too little of water, it's gonna boil away really quickly and then you're gonna have nothing. So you want about a couple inches on the bottom of the pot. So I went ahead and put my water in here, and what I'm gonna do is start boiling that water while we cut up the broccoli so that I'm ready to throw it in once this is at a boiling point. So my fine mesh colander strainer is gonna go on top of the pot. The water is not touching the bottom of this at all. It's just underneath it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get this boiling. All right, and while that starts to boil, we're gonna chop broccoli. So these are broccoli crowns, and a really important thing for cutting broccoli or any of these harder cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower, for instance, is a really sharp knife. Crucial to cutting. If your knife is not sharp and you don't have a good cut, it's very easy to cut yourself, because instead of going right into it, you're gonna to the side and cut yourself. So really sharp knife is very important. So I always start with cutting the bottom of the stalk off. This doesn't mean that you should just throw the stalk away. When you buy broccoli, you're buying it by the pound. So you're paying for this stalk, and it still has all those nutrients in it, and it still tastes good. So what I usually do is put it to the side, and I use it to put into smoothies or stir fries. I don't usually steam it or roast it necessarily, but you definitely can. But don't throw it away. So I'm gonna put it to the side. And once you cut that bottom off, you're gonna see that these crowns, these little pieces of the crown, start to come apart into pieces like this. And then from there, we're gonna want these in bite-sized pieces. So we don't want them too big and we don't want them too small, especially when it comes to roasting. If they're too small, they're just gonna burn in the oven. And if they're too big, they don't cook very well and they're hard to eat. So you wanna get them into bite-sized pieces. So the best way to do this is to go from the bottom of the stalk up into these little pieces of the floret so that you get an even break like this. Because if you go from the top down, you're losing all those little top pieces of the floret, which is what makes it really tasty. So I try to use the tip of the knife and then go in from the bottom when I'm separating pieces like this. And I trim off some of the stalk if I don't want all of that. And you can separate them, like a lot of them are held together just by a little like piece of that stalk at the end, and you take the tip of your knife and you're basically separating them into these smaller pieces. Okay, so my pot over here is starting to steam a little bit. That's great. Also, the lower the water, the quicker it boils, which is what makes this a very simple, easy way to make broccoli. Okay. So I have all my florets ready to go. That took me maybe 2 minutes. So now that this is starting to steam, this is good. It doesn't even have to be at a full boil. You just want to get this steam. I'm not sure if you can see it on the video, but it is steaming right now. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my fine mesh strainer and put it on top of that steam. I'm then going to put the raw broccoli into that fine mesh strainer. And then I'm gonna take a lid, which I already used for this pot. It doesn't have to be super tight fitting. It's great if it is, but if you only have like a bigger lid, if you don't have one for your small pot, you can just use a big lid too. I do that all the time and it works just fine. But this one fits perfectly, which is a great setup for this. So I'm gonna set it on top like this. And then as you can see here, it starts to like hold the steam in. And so that's what we're doing, right? We're steaming it. So I'm just gonna let it sit there and steam for a while. And I'm just gonna go back and check it and just take a piece out and see if it's tender. And when it's tender but still firm is when it's done. So you don't want it soggy or, you know, way overly steamed. So just try to like check it every few minutes to see where you're at with it. And that is it for setting it up and steaming it. Very simple. Okay, so while that's steaming, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the other broccoli to roast. Okay, so that actually took only about 4 minutes to steam, which was like really quick. And the pieces are tender, but they're still like a little bit firm. And they look really good. So, go ahead and put it in this bowl. And I now have steamed broccoli. Super easy. So the next step is seasoning it, obviously. Salt is gonna be key when it comes to broccoli. You want salt. It really balances out the taste of broccoli. But I really love to use ghee. So ghee is really cool because it's butter, but it has the lactose taken out of it. So the milk solids have been removed from it. So it's still butter, but it has no dairy in it, which is really cool, and it's super tasty. So a lot of times I'll drizzle this all over it with some sea salt and pepper, and that's absolutely amazing. If you eat butter, like feel free to put butter, salt, pepper. That's really good. Garlic powder, garlic salt are really great. You can drizzle like Italian dressing on top of broccoli. That tastes really good. Again, I do this all the time for lunch, or you know, you can do it when you're packing your lunches and put it into your lunches. It's so easy to make broccoli like this, and then you can just have it ready for a meal in like 5 minutes. So the next way of making broccoli is definitely my favorite way if I have the time to do it. And again, I make it a lot of times at the beginning of the week. I'll make a couple batches in the oven while I'm like cleaning my house or doing laundry, and then I'll have it in the fridge for the whole week. And this is roasted broccoli. So roasted vegetables in general are super delicious, but specifically roasted broccoli is just so good. And I was reading a cookbook actually not long ago, and the author was talking about how she had roasted broccoli with sea salt for the first time. Her friend had made it for her, and it amazed her how much she liked it because she had never really liked broccoli. And she related it to having French fries, which is kind of funny and obviously way different, but it is like that crunchy, salty flavor profile that we often crave. And so that's what I really love about roasted broccoli, and it pairs so well with pretty much anything. So I used about 1 head of broccoli. For this, you just need a baking sheet, and I prefer to use parchment paper underneath so that it's really easy to clean it up. I can just pull it off and I'm done. But if you don't have parchment paper, you can do it right on the baking sheet. So you're gonna use 1 head of broccoli for this, but you do wanna make sure that your broccoli is spread out evenly and it's not like next to each other, because then it will steam in the oven instead of roast, and we don't want that. So we do want to make sure there's like room on the baking sheet. So I say 1 head of broccoli, but just pay attention to that when you are putting it on the sheet. So now I've got all my florets on the baking sheet. And I'm gonna take some olive oil and drizzle it on top. It's about 2 tablespoons, but again, use your eyes and your hands to see what is best. You want it to be lightly coated. You don't want it to be like too drenched. And you wanna go ahead and just mix it on the sheet. Mix it really good. Okay. And so like I said, you want to make sure it's spaced out. You don't want it too close or it'll steam itself. And we're trying to roast it, not steam it. Also, fun fact, olive oil is really good for your skin. So when you use your hands with olive oil, it's great, and you can literally just rub it into your skin and it's amazing for it. So the next thing is seasoning it. I use garlic powder, and then I use pepper and sea salt, which is going to be very important. So the garlic powder is really important as well because garlic gives it like the best flavor. So I like to get garlic powder. Don't get garlic salt, get garlic powder. And I sprinkle a pretty good amount on top because I super love garlic. And then I do my pepper. Ooh. And then the sea salt. You want a good amount. It tastes really good when it comes out with all that sea salt on it. Cool. And then you're gonna bake it at 425 for about 18 to 20 minutes. And halfway through that, you're going to flip it. So just take it out, take a spatula, flip it over, nothing too serious, and pop it back in. And it comes out super crunchy and salty and tasty. It's so good. Please let me know if you tried either steaming it or roasting it and if you like it. Remember, again, the key thing is how you are making vegetables and how you are seasoning them. And that's how you're really gonna fall in love with the flavors and the textures and the taste profiles that they give to you. So please share this video with someone who needs to incorporate more vegetables into their life and also is trying to start cooking at home, because this is a great way to start with just like these little things and trying them on their own. And please make sure to also subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can be updated every week when I do a new Mindful Minute.